We got Primal Swoledier in the house.
Yo, what up, savages?
My man, Eric Leija. Is that how we say it?
That's exactly right.
All right. That's your
You're the
real
first
name.
person to ever get it right the first time.
Most people know you as Primal Swoledier online.
Yeah.
I want to unpack how we've come to this point where you're now known as the Onnit Kettlebell guy. You're basically the face of what Onnit training looks like, what it means to train with odd tools, and really just how to be functional and fucking jacked and tanned at the same time.
Jacked and tanned.
A lot of people, that's my boy Mark Bell's term, but a lot of people think like once you go into this functional training that you're not going to be strong anymore. You'll be able to do parlor tricks, but you won't be able to deadlift or back squat. And that's something, when I did the kettlebell cert here and you were one of the coaches in that, a lot of people had questions like, hey, how do I do kettlebells for mass if I want to gain a lot of weight or pure strength? And you're like, well, you use the kettlebells, but don't forget the fucking barbell.
Yeah.
Like, still bench, squat, and deadlift.
Also, you can do anything with a kettlebell, same movement, just got to change up the training protocols to make sure you're getting some muscle building in there. It's just a weight with a handle on it. It's good for anything.
Oh yeah. So let's dive into that though. I mean, you're fairly young. How old are you?
I'm 25 now. I just turned 25.
Oh yes. Yeah. You can rent a car.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting pretty old now.
Yeah. I'm a man, damn it. I can rent a car. I'm a man. But let's unpack that. When did you start training and what did you start with? What does your athletic career look like growing up?
I started working out when I was like 11 years old, 12. I remember I was a chubby kid growing up. I used to eat a lot of fast food. And I just like playing video games all the time. And then I remember I was transitioning from going from elementary school to middle school. My brother and my sister, my older brother and my older sister would make fun of me all the time. They're like, man, you're so fat. You're never going to have a girlfriend. You're about to go to middle school. You haven't even kissed a girl. It's like teasing me all the time, all summer. Like, you need to lose weight. You're fat and chubby. And then so it got to my head. So I picked up this Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yes.
Big old fat ass book. I dug through it, got some basic little workouts out of it, some bodybuilding routines, and started working out when I was like 11. Started running outside, dropped all that baby fat. And then after that, kind of jumped into middle school football. I did pretty good at that, but I didn't love it. I used to watch UFC and MMA growing up. My brother was super into that. So he would make me watch it with him all the time. We would go over to our friends' houses who would order those Pride FCs that were on like at random times during the day. We would go sit down and watch those. And I got super into MMA. And so I ended up dropping out of football and just kind of taking up some jiu-jitsu classes and kickboxing when I was like 13, 14 years old. And then, when I got super into martial arts, I realized that the type of training that I was doing, I was running, which is good, but bodybuilding type workouts weren't the best for developing functional strength that it took to kind of survive in a real match or fight. So I ended up following in the footsteps of a lot of the guys I was training with. They always had access to like kettlebells and medicine balls and sledgehammers, so tire slams, just mixing up their techniques to where they were doing more functional stuff that kind of translated a little bit better to what they were doing. So I kind of started incorporating those type of techniques into my routines. And that's when I kind of just started mixing it up from there. All throughout high school, I just kept training, kept doing jiu-jitsu, did some jiu-jitsu matches, and then kind of just stuck with that on and off training for martial arts, which is dope.
Hell yeah, that is dope. When did you get to Onnit and how did you get to Onnit?
So I ended up, working really hard in high school, got into a good school, and, I worked so hard in high school to where I wasn't having fun. I never really liked to drink. I wasn't into drugs or partying, so I was kind of like a bookworm. Worked really hard to get into a good school, and by the time I got to college, my first semester sucked. I absolutely hated it. I couldn't make any friends. I had really poor social skills. And I just wasn't having a good time. And so I started listening to a lot of cool motivational podcasts like the Joe Rogan podcast. And that guy was super motivational and it still is to this day about, not being a little bitch, like just doing what you really want to do. And at the time I was still into, MMA And I had a good friend who was an MMA fighter. He was a fighter for the UFC. This guy, Roger Huerta, he was a 155-pound fighter back in the day.
First MMA fighter to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. And so he was really good friends with my brother. And he ended up coming back into town to kind of reconnect with his family who lived in town. And then he found out I was unhappy going to school. And he's like, hey, man, how about you just drop out of school and come hang out with me? Let's go train in Minnesota. And so I ended up dropping out of school and I took off with Roger. We drove up to Minnesota and I trained with like all those tough guys up there, all those really tough wrestlers, like Sean Shirk and
the muscle shark.
Yeah, it was dope, man. So I got to experience that. I got to see what it was like to be a fighter, which is awesome, and a lot of hard work. But after that experience, I came back to town. I still wasn't an MMA fighter. I hadn't have any experience, but I had an experience what it felt like to really dive into something that I liked and I was more passionate about than going to school. Mm-hmm. And I also learned how to make friends with people who were into the same kind of stuff. And so I ended up becoming good friends with Aubrey through my brother. So my brother was friends with Roger and Aubrey. And Aubrey at the time was really into, or still is, like spiritual awakening type stuff. And he had this blog up, this warrior poet blog, and he ended up hiring me to like help him and like assist him with that. And so I ended up helping him out with that. And from there, I got involved with the company. I actually got a job in the warehouse because I was helping him out on the side. But I was like, hey man, you think you could hook me up with a job, so I could pay the bills and stuff. He's like, yeah, man, there's always room in the warehouse. You want to work in the warehouse? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah.
So you got Swole lifting boxes of Alpha Brain for people.
Yeah, and at the time, like I said, I didn't like going to school because I couldn't make any friends. Well, at the time, Onnit was a little bit of a smaller company, and a lot of the friends that I grew up hanging out with through my brother, they all worked for the company. So it was a small company, a lot of people that I knew. So I was like, yeah, I'll work in the warehouse. I get to hang out with my friends all the time. So I grew up in the warehouse, basically, lifting kettlebells, packing supplements and stuff. And it was a lot of fun, because I got to hang out with all my friends. I got to work for Aubrey, who was super cool and super enlightened. So I still got to learn from him, even as I worked for the company. And eventually, Aubrey saw the value in actually opening up a gym because we sold all these tools, but we didn't really have an education system to teach people how to use them. So he's like, you know what? How about we open a gym and build an education system around these tools so we can not only sell people tools, but also show them how to use it so they can use them more effectively and, try to build a stronger community around that. And he realized, Eric, you've always been fit. You've always been into training. So how about you get some experience, start training some people out of our company gym, and start teaching some group classes and be one of the first trainers at the Onnit gym. I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. So I guess I worked my way up, from packing kettlebells to showing people how to use them. And so that was an awesome experience, being able to kind of grow within the company and find something for myself.
It's crazy to think about that, like that, because I remember talking to your brother Juan. Juan was training people out of Aubrey's garage.
Yeah, Garage.
Yeah, and it was like just Alpha Brain. That was the only thing that was being sold.
And New Mood and Shroom Tech.
And then that's New Mood, but New Mood and Shroom Tech all came along later. You know what I'm saying? Like later. It all came along later. It was all built on Alpha Brain. Mm-hmm. And Juan's training Aubrey and different people out of Aubrey's garage. And then, of course, the company takes off. And then, hey, we want to have a gym. And, your brother teaches the unconventional barbell, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of other things. And obviously, he coaches Tim Kennedy and a lot of the top level guys here. It's crazy to see, like, because I've been here for 9 months, and I feel pretty plugged in now. But it's nuts to think of, like, how this thing came to be. Because it's only been around for 7 years, but it feels like we're on a fucking rocket ship right now.
Moving so fast.
Yeah, it's moving real quick. Mm-hmm. And now you're teaching kettlebell certs. You're doing private training. You have so much going on, and you're still putting everything all together. Like you have really good balanced approach to this. We talked a bit about, just how you train for mass and things like that, still incorporating the barbell, still incorporating the classic lifts like bench, squat, deadlift. But you also do distance runs, sprints.
Yeah.
Like, you really have a complete package when I think of what it takes to be a really good athlete. Unpack some of that.
I try to mix it up, man. I feel like if I do the same thing over and over again, or anybody does, you adapt, you stop growing, you stop seeing results, or, you develop bad habits and possibly get injured. So I constantly switch up my routine. I make sure I do strength work with barbells to make sure I'm maintaining my maximal strength, throughout the year. And I always incorporate kettlebells just because, they're super accessible, super versatile. I can do anything I want with them. I can use them for conditioning to get like a cardio calorie burning workout, or I can use them for strength. I just got to, switch up add some weight, do a little bit of heavier kettlebell for slower reps, higher reps, if I'm trying to build some muscle. And, but for me, my daily routines, I love running. I try to run as much as I can so I can eat as much as I can, because I work a lot. I work from usually from 6 a.m. to 8 at night. So throughout the day, I gotta stay fed. I eat all day, drink coffee, drink shakes. And so to make sure I'm not, putting on any extra fat, I like to run, hit the kettlebell flows to burn some calories. And I like to mix in those barbell lifts to make sure I'm really breaking down those muscle tissues with some heavy load. And create some adaptability and really have to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
But for the most part, 90% of my training is kettlebells, just because they're so easy to use. Once you get your techniques down, you can pretty much do whatever you want with kettlebells. And honestly, I can be lazy sometimes. Re-racking weights, having to load a barbell up can be a pain in the ass. So for me, grabbing a couple kettlebells, swinging them around, and doing some pull-ups, dips, and going for a long run is pretty much all I need. In addition to doing some sprint work. I love doing sprints. Really get me fucking juiced up, really get my nervous system activated. Some box jumps and kettlebell swings, man.
Yeah, that was something. And I first got turned on at kettlebells listening to Pavel Tatsulin on Tim Ferriss's podcast.
Yeah.
And something he was talking about that really struck a chord with me, because I was aware a lot of guys in MMA use kettlebells and for obvious reasons, but I wasn't certain of how that translated. And Pavel was talking about the kettlebell snatch and the kettlebell swing, the hip hinge movement in that, but also the spring that happens. It's basically a plyometric movement.
Oh yeah.
And it's, if people think of plyometrics as like jumping up on top of a box or a bench and then walking back down, but that's not true plyometrics. Plyometrics are the rebound.
Yeah.
Like a depth jump.
Reload.
Yeah. Where you jump off of something down and then back up on top of something, or you jump down from something, just tap the ground and jump as far as you can. Yeah. Right. It's that rebound. And when you hike the kettlebell between your legs,
you get a shitload of stretch.
You're fucking stretching the whole posterior chain and then snapping the hips back forward. Yep. That's teaching you how to run faster. It's teaching you how to jump higher. It's loading the body in a way that is plyometric. Yep. And you see incredible results incredibly quickly from that. And it translates to fucking pretty much all sports.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. Tennis, hockey, football, MMA, like it's there. So I mean, I've gravitated towards that. And it's amazing to see that. It's also, taking the kettlebell cert here at Onnit with you as one of the coaches was fucking mind blowing. Like, I knew I was going to learn things and I'd be able to fix some of the technical stuff, but the flow really surprised me. Like the flow, like how you guys flow. Like, unpack that a bit. Like how you guys break down a flow really changed my mind. Because when I watch you, like, you look like you move so smoothly and seamlessly, it looks like it's almost planned, and you're like, no, you're not trying to go even Stevens. You're not trying to hit one, 2 reps each side and make it all equal.
You definitely can,
do that.
If you want to like balance your body or you're trying to build muscle, you could have kettlebell flows that are a little bit more planned, that can kind of, have like a target.
Sequence.
But we taught the free flow. That's more of it's like, it can be anything, man. If you go lightweight and you go for time, you can challenge yourself not to put the weight down. It challenges your grip, challenges your endurance, by having to keep going the whole time for the full, let's say 10 to 15 minute rounds. But it also helps you really explore your body and really assess where your body's at, what moves you're really like fluent with, or what you're having a hard time with, any sticking points you might have, because in kettlebell flows and free flow, you're transitioning and you're just like, just going for it. You're just not thinking, just kind of doing what your body does and just kind of doing whatever techniques you're familiar with, or then you find what you're not familiar with. And from there, after the session, you can kind of work on those weaknesses that you found or those strengths. You're like, man, I was really good at that move, combine into that move. Maybe I should combine that and really drill that. And it'll make me a lot stronger in that transition and help me be more prepared for the next time I'm in that type of scenario.
Yeah, you find your weaknesses through the movement.
Super. For me, free flowing, that's one of the biggest benefits. Like finding a transition where I'm not so smooth at, and then going back to the drawing board and realize, and thinking about like, how can I make that transition better? Why am I tight there? Maybe I should work a little bit more mobility in that area. So it's a great assessment tool, but it's also a really good cardio tool or a conditioning tool.
And kids do that too. That's something that was mind-boggling for me watching my son at 18 months. Like, he always wants to do everything himself, right? But like going upstairs, if he ate shit on the stairs and got hurt, I'd be like, hold daddy's hand, and then he'd jerk his hand away and fucking master the step.
Yeah.
Each time he wanted to figure it out, and he would just repeat it until he got it right.
So that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, that's the kind of thing, like we figure out where this hole is in the game, and you work through that. That's greasing the groove. Like you work through that movement pattern until you master it.
Yep.
So often though, we're adults, we forget that shit. We're like, I'm weak in that area. I'm not going to fucking do that exercise anymore.
Happens to all of us. We're short on time. We just want to knock out a quick workout, and we do the same shit we always do. But, I want to encourage people to mix it up, keep your training fun, try some kettlebell flows, try some steel club flows, try some mace flows, it doesn't have to be just unconventional tools. You can use barbells too, just whatever it is, try to have fun, mix it up, switch up your routine, still incorporate all the basic stuff. Cause it's tried and true, and it's going to help you, get maximally strong doing heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy bench press. Just don't neglect the way your body wants to move or should move, or all the other ways it can move, mix it up. It'll keep you a lot more durable and keep you more or better prepared for any chaotic situations. Like if you decide to go play a little game of football, or decide to jump into a wrestling match, or, whatever, or play basketball, you end up twisting in a direction you're not used to, or you're not adapted to, then, it's going to end up bad. But if you mess around with your training and you play around with it, obviously with some good mechanics and, being mindful of not fucking yourself up during your training, then, you can really prepare your body for some more dangerous situations.
Yeah. People think push, pull, squat, hinge, but there's twist, rotation, lunge, there's gait, there's all these things that we need to train, and I think the more we round that out, the better adapted we are and the more bulletproof we are to injury. People fucking hurt their backs in a pickup softball game, like a beer drinking softball league with slope pitch, like, these are just not, and there's people that train and lift weights, so they're just not used to doing those things. Or you throw your back out picking your kid up, or pulling groceries out of the trunk, like that's the kind of shit where it's funny too. Like there's so much when we were getting into it, and obviously I've read the Arnold's Encyclopedia of Modern Day Bodybuilding, which is a great book, but there's so much about flat back, perfect spine, all these things. And then now you see, like with Coach Summers, another guy that I learned about on Tim Ferriss, like hollow back, like you're doing this thing. We move in space differently. Like if you're in a wrestling match, no one's standing straight up with a fucking perfectly erect spine. That shit doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in jiu-jitsu.
No.
You sit on your ass and you're getting ready to roll with somebody, you're fucking hunched forward with your arms in front of you, T-Rex arms, and like, how can we train that? Well, you can do planks with a hollow back.
Oh yeah.
You can, if you're picking
pull-ups in a hollow body position.
If you pick up a medicine ball that's heavy, and we've got some pretty heavy ones here. You're completely rounded around that thing. That's normal.
Yeah,
to do
and
that.
It's safe. It's actually really good for your core.
You can brace the spine that way, right?
Yeah. Super great. I'd love doing heavy Atlas stone squats, Or we had this rogue bag in the gym that's like 140 pounds. I hug the shit out of that and I feel so safe, because I'm really wrapping my whole spine, my whole core around it. And I can really brace and hit awesome.
Learning how to brace the core and get that locked in is super
that
important.
Awkward position that's dangerous. But, there aren't any dangerous positions. There's just kind of falling into something you're not ready for. And that's why we got to train, even if it's like in a smaller load, which I recommend if you're going to do like an awkward, like hollow body, or if you're going to round your spine a little bit, maybe start light, do just body weight movements, like spine waves, some animal flow movements to really articulate that spine before you start doing some type of loaded movements with that. For example, in my kettlebell flows, my spine's not always going to be super straight. There's times where I rotate into a twist press, into a side lunge where, I kind of fall out of that neutral spine position, but that's perfectly fine because I'm not under a maximal load. The only time I recommend you be super mindful of maintaining a really straight back is if you're under like maximum loads, like you're doing 300 to 400 pound squat, and you got to be mindful of that butt wink. But like in the kettlebell cert, we told you guys, it's perfectly fine to explore that range, as long as, you're mindful of your tension, you go down real slow and you work on that range. It's actually going to help you strengthen yourself. So when you're under heavy load, you're familiar with that and you don't fall into it and hurt yourself.
Yeah. That was another thing you just mentioned that it really blew my mind too, was how light we were going during the kettlebell cert. And obviously the volume was extraordinarily high.
For sure.
But like I was blasted. I was so sore and I used like a fucking 8 and a 12 kilo throughout the 2 days. That was it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was talking with you and what's the other guy's name?
Marcus.
I was talking with Marcus and I was like, I would love at some point to be able to snatch the 48. And he was like, all right, just work on single arm swings with the 48 until that gets really comfortable and your grip solid, right? Because it's just a technical thing.
Yep.
And then fixing the snatch was like, I know I'll be able to do that one day because the 20 kilo, which is what I normally use just to mess around with, that became so light it felt like a featherweight. But what was cool was when John Wolf got up and started fucking motoring that 48 kilo, he was like, bro, I haven't even touched a 48 in like 2 months.
Yep.
All I do is fuck with the 24. I use the 24 consistently.
Yep.
And that's where I get my reps, my volume. And then when I go back to the 48, I know what that, I know it's going to be a jump,
you know what it feels
but
like.
I'm constantly greasing the groove with the 24. I'm not worried about having to go heavy all the time.
Yeah. And that way you don't got to break yourself down all the time. Going super heavy is really hard on the body. And, you save those for those days where you really just want to test yourself. And so it's good to be able to use the techniques that we teach to just be mindful and just create like mindful tension and mindful movement that you get a lot of juice out of.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about what you're getting into now, because you really have become the face of fucking Onnit training. You've got over 100,000 followers on the gram.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who you are. I mean, I was following you probably a year and a half or 2 years before I got here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I had just friends in the fight game that were like, dude, you got to follow this guy, Primal Swoledier.
Oh, that's dope.
Just amazing to watch what you do online. And now you've really picked up so much steam that you're doing your own thing as well as coaching here.
Yeah.
You've got online programming. Talk a bit about that.
So I just launched ericleija.com. It's also primalswoledier.com, if you forget. But if you get on there, I just launched my kettlebell course. So it's basically what we teach in the kettlebell certs, with in addition to I teach a lot of my go-to mobility warm-ups, so you can get ready for your kettlebell training. So all the kettlebell fundamental techniques from push, pull, squat, hinge to the swing, the snatch, and all my go-to kettlebell techniques. But I also include a section on building complexes, like how I like to build my kettlebell workouts, and a section on my favorite kettlebell flows. So it gives people an idea of how to put flows together. There's no one and done way. It's just, some of my favorite flows. So in addition to learning all the kettlebell techniques in my course, you also get some pretty cool examples of how to put them together into workouts. And so, I'm just trying to, spread the knowledge, keep sharing with people. It's a super super low price on the course right now for the amount of content that's on there. There's like 150 technique videos, warm-ups, decompression, mobility, cool downs, all kinds of stuff on there. And I've gotten a lot of really good feedback. People are finding it super useful. It's good for the beginner, intermediate, and advanced trainer or a person who just wants to get into kettlebell training. There's something for everybody, and worked really hard on it. It took us about a year to put it all together. So there's a lot of content on there. So if you guys sign up, it's also available for a lifetime. Pay once, you can have it forever. It's a really great resource for coaches and anybody who just wants to make sure they got their sound kettlebell technique.
Yeah, that's amazing, brother. Especially because I get a lot of questions doing Facebook Lives about kettlebells. And I'm like, hey, there's some videos, there's some books, but truly it's nice to have a one-stop shop, because things are kind of scattered on the academy, and we're doing a better job of consolidating information there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
But it is really cool that you've put that much time and effort into something that you're so passionate about. And there is one place where people can go to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do want to get into this stuff, but it is awkward. It's like, well, fuck, man. I mean, how many people were at least half the room who had used kettlebells before in the kettlebell cert were still doing that, like that kind of squat to shoulder raise,
squat swing,
squat lateral raise, like you're using all arms, it should be all ass.
It should be all power. All stretch, reflex.
Yeah. And those are people that had played with kettlebells before. Yeah. So like how long have they tried kettlebells incorrectly? And now they got to unpack that. Now they got to rewire their brain to do it correctly.
Yeah. And, it might not be incorrect. There's different ways to do a kettlebell swing. You see people doing the American swing, which overhead, requires a little bit more of a squat to get it overhead for, like CrossFit purposes, for competition, for high reps. And, we like to teach at the Onnit Academy to not be dogmatic. We're not a one way, but we're just trying to teach you not just the safest way, but the most effective way to get the best results out of our techniques. So that's why we like to teach the kettlebell swing as a more of a hinge, posterior dominant exercise. Just because, if I want to hit my quads and want to hit my shoulders, I'll fucking do some shoulder presses or I'll do some squats.
Yeah, goblet squats and barbell.
If I want to fuck my back up, I'll fucking go jump off a really high building or something. But if I want to, a lot of people, their sedentary lifestyles, they drive all day, they sit down at the desk all day. So a lot of people are, falling forward into flexion, and we want to condition them to really engage their asses and their hamstrings a lot more. And we find the best way to do that is to use the kettlebell swing as a more hinge dominant pattern. There's different ways to do it. There's no wrong way to do it, but we like to teach you to fucking use your ass.
I appreciated that because they're, just going back to the plyometrics version of that, the way you can use that to feel that load and stretch. The deeper I got into that, really hiking it between the legs, I felt incredible power. And then the weight feels lighter.
Yeah.
And the same thing followed with the snatch, which is a similar movement, but like really pulling that down and driving the hips back.
Yeah.
Like the ass to grab. What was that? Goes for the three.
Superman
is where you pull the shoulders back and down.
Tuck your pelvis back.
Pelvis, like you're pushing that ass out on the IG.
You press that ham.
And then you press that ham.
Yeah.
Pushing their ass back like you're pressing your butt cheeks up against the window to moon somebody.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what it is.
It was dope. It was really incredible to have not only fun language like that, that's easy to remember, but how much that translated through all these different movements.
Yeah.
And then in that experience, knowing like, damn, if the weight's moving that much quicker and feeling that much lighter, I've already become stronger through the technique. It's not like my body adapted in a fucking 24-hour span and I'm that much stronger from one day's training.
Yeah, no,
it's a technical thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to teach, one thing we like to say a lot is you want to make a lightweight feel heavy, or you want to move lightweight like it's a heavy weight, so that eventually a heavy weight will seem light. So if you use mindful technique with lighter weights, then eventually heavier weight's going to seem not as heavy as it was before, just because, you got your mechanics down, you're able to radiate tension properly, and you're really using, your full body to to get those weights up with and those powerful movements.
Yeah, and that translated to safety too. I noticed, a lot of people when they have a lighter weight, they're just going to lean down on one fucking foot and pick it up with a rounded
Yeah.
back. Like, it's an 8 kilo, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's how you get hurt. Like, always respect the weight, no matter how light it is.
Yep.
Use good form to pick it up, brace the spine, tight waist, that kind of stuff. And I thought that was incredibly powerful to
super valuable. Make sure people aren't getting hurt outside of training, even when they're just picking up their kids or picking up the groceries, like you said. It's just, we'd like to teach people to be aware of their bodies and, make sure you're not just fucking dicking around, especially in the gym where it can be dangerous if you're not using proper form.
We've talked a bit about how you got here physically, but I want to take a deeper dive into how you've changed mentally, emotionally, spiritually over the years. And I you know what I'm leading to here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. So like I said, growing up in school, I kind of zeroed in on like academics. I wanted to do really good in school, get into a good college, and I neglected the social part. And so for the longest time, I didn't drink. I didn't do any drugs. I was completely sober. And then right out of school, I started listening to Joe Rogan talk about how awesome, smoking weed is and how to open your mind. And I was like, fuck, man, I'm such a little bitch. Like, I'm scared to talk to girls. I'm scared to fucking talk to people and make friends. Like, maybe I should fucking start smoking weed and, trying something different because I'm fucking socially fucking dumb and I can't make any friends. And so I had a friend in high school who had been trying to pressure me for a long time to smoke weed. And I finally took him up on the offer and we smoked weed. And for the first time, it felt like a super psychedelic experience to me. I felt like I was like flying through an Egyptian portal, and that was just weed. All right. And so then I kept listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about DMT, the most powerful psychedelic he'd ever tried. And I ended up actually 2 months after I smoked weed for the first time, I go buy some weed from a friend, right? And he's like, "Hey man, I actually got some DMT. You ever heard of that?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I actually just heard about that the other day. Fuck, it's crazy. What a coincidence."
No coincidence. The universe provided.
Right? And then so I fucking ended up getting some of that, took it over to my friend who introduced me to weed. And I was like, "Hey man, look what I got." He's like, "Damn, I always wanted to try that." And so we ended up trying it and I was blown away. I remember going into it expecting to see like machine elves and like alien entities,
all the Terrence McKenna talk.
Yeah, all the Terrence McKenna
talk. The gnomes.
Yeah, but I just fucking ended up flying through this like foreign subconscious that I had been in, but it felt so familiar. I felt like I was traveling through like a primordial space that I was super familiar with, but also alien at the same time. So it felt super comforting. And that was my first experience. I saw like I felt like archetypes, like weird, like Egyptian, like goddesses and like Indian goddesses, like Medusas and all kinds of weird shit. So that's when I kind of broke through for the first time and I was sold on it. So I ended up realizing, man, this stuff is super expensive, but I want to keep trying it. Man, I wonder how easy it is to make. So I actually ended up learning how to make DMT, and I made my own DMT, had my own supply, and was smoking on it for a long time. I had a lot of really deep visions, and I stopped being afraid of stuff. I ended up realizing it helped me like dig deep into myself and kind of pulled out a lot of skeletons in my closet that I was kind of holding on to, a lot of anxiety, and it helped me kind of conquer pretty much like my inner bitch. I stopped being afraid of this world because the world inside myself was a lot more powerful, but also intimidating. And there was just so much going on in my subconscious that made me realize that, I didn't need to be afraid of the world around me. It was all kind of just like one thing, I just need to be better connected with myself. Cause it felt like super alien, being that deep inside my head, but it also felt super familiar. And then there were times where I kind of like broke through and kind of felt like I died. There was a time where I flew through all the crazy psychedelic stuff, the portals, all the colors, the pretty
Sacred
psychedelic,
geometry.
sacred geometry. And I kind of broke through into like nothingness. I felt like I was just like a dot of light that could see in all directions. Like I had no perspective, no thoughts, no language. And like I felt like, fuck, I'm dead. I just fucking blew it. I smoked way too much. I just died. Like fuck. I was about to freak out because I couldn't talk. I felt like inanimate. And then I broke back through. I came back. I realized, you know, even if that's not what death is like, it just felt like a really vapid, like cold place. And I was like, man, I gotta fucking just live it now. Like enjoy life right now. Just cause man, if that's what I have to look forward to, it wasn't like, it was scary, but it was also very, it felt very comfortable, you know, like being nothing. Like it was also like I was like just energy, just flowed. Like I was like that dot, just connected, part of everything. I was just a part of that sacred geometry. And I didn't have a thought, I didn't have language, I didn't have anything to be conscious about. It was just existing. And then it made me realize, you know, coming back into this conscious world, I should enjoy every moment and, you know, have as many experiences as I can and really try to take it all in because, you know, what's next might not be anything like this. So I should try to enjoy my human experience as much as I can. You know, I try to enjoy all the flavors, enjoy all the sights, enjoy all the moments and relationships with people just because there's nobody else like those people and there's never going to be another experience like this. And so after going through all those psychedelic experiences, it really kind of forced me to stop being afraid to meet people and to do new things and try new things. And that's actually after years of training in MMA, I finally had the guts to finally take an MMA fight. I had an MMA fight and it was the most brutal thing I'd ever done. But, you know, if I hadn't had that psychedelic experience, I wouldn't have, you know, conquered my fear of not being afraid to step in the cage in front of my whole family, in front of all my friends and, you know, be in danger of fucking getting beat up or embarrassing myself. And, you know, I owe it a lot to those psychedelic experiences. And so I think that's something everybody should do, whether even if it's not ingesting drugs, you know, doing some type of meditation or some type of, you know, digging deep into your head to really help you conquer your inner self.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't put holotropic breath work or shamanic breath work in the par of DMT.
Yeah.
But I think it is one of the deepest ways to meditate, and it is visionary, you know, without substance. Like I was talking to John Wolf about that before going out to Spirit Ranch, and I was kind of a breathwork snob in a sense where I'm like, I've done Wim Hof, you know, I've done this, I've felt my hands charged, I've never see shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I had like full-blown visions. And just from the breath work.
From like all that, you know, I don't know how
there is a DMT release, you know, that's what science is starting to back up is that obviously we produce this in our own brains, but that is possibly why we see things when we dream, why we feel things when we dream. And you can shift the chemistry in your brain through breath work. And yogis have known this for thousands of years, but that practice, you know, Stanislav Grof, the guy who created this, was around in the psychedelic 60s with Timothy Leary and Ram Dass. I think he was a professor at Harvard as well. You know, when LSD got shut down by the government, he still wanted a tool for everyone to use. Yeah. And I find it incredibly important because not everyone wants to go down the rabbit hole. Not everybody's willing to risk the legality depending on where you live. Obviously, if you're in Peru or you head to Peru, you're good to go. But there's not a lot of places on earth where that's accessible or cool to do, you know? So I think having tools like that, flotation, different forms of meditation, they're really important, you know? And even if you do go down the rabbit hole with some of the stronger substances, it's still nice to have those practices in place to bridge the gap, to help ground the experience. So that way you can walk the walk and live. And also test the
waters too, you know, like see how far you've come and like through meditation and through, like you said, floating. For me, man, it got to a point to, you know, I was making my own supply. So I had like a shitload of this stuff and I was just smoking it every night for like maybe a year, maybe 2 years. I don't really remember, but I was smoking it every night before bed. You know, it was like my like
nightcap.
My nightcap.
Some guys have a glass of whiskey on the rocks. You're loading
like,
the DMT up.
Vape it, fucking have a vision and pass out. So it was awesome, I got to see a bunch of cool shit all the time, have this euphoric feeling where I felt super connected with the universe and the world around me. But then I felt like I got to a point to where I like stopped seeing visions, and I was seeing the same thing, feeling the same stuff. And when before it was like so new and fresh every time, and I was seeing new things and new things about myself that I needed to work on. And, I felt like I was abusing it. After a while, the medicine stopped teaching me new things. And I felt like I was being punished because I stopped seeing visual stuff. I still felt, the euphoric feeling, but I stopped seeing things. Even though I would load up the bowl with a shitload of DMT, I still wouldn't see anything. I felt like I had like, at one point I felt like I burnt out my fucking pineal gland or whatever processes and stuff. And I was like, man, I fucked my stuff up. What if I die one day, or when I die, I'm not going to see anything because I burnt myself out. So I realized, man, you know what? I need to stop doing this, and I need to set out and conquer the goals and work on the stuff that I learned when I first started doing it. And, I put it down for maybe like 2 or 3 years, and I ended up succeeding at work, doing really well with Onnit, and, finally got to a point to where I realized, man, I'm not stuck. I've accomplished some things, and maybe it's time to try it again. And I tried it again, and I felt great. Finally saw something new, and I felt like the medicine was kind of rewarding me with a more welcoming message.
Yeah, new stuff to work through.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, brother. That's
So,
fucking beautiful.
it was
I had
awesome.
a similar experience with ayahuasca, and I was talking to you about my personal experience in doing it 3 months in a row, getting the same message 3 months in a row.
Yeah.
And then on the third time being like, why the fuck do you keep telling me to do yoga and meditation? It's like, oh, you haven't fucking done it yet, dummy.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get anything new. You don't get to graduate until you start doing whatever the work is for you, for me. That was my message. That's something I needed to work on. And once I started doing that, then ayahuasca continued to teach me. But it wasn't until that point. I didn't get to graduate onto the new knowledge until I started to embody and live.
Yeah, no,
what it was
you're
asking
right.
me to
That's
do.
definitely what it was. I hadn't graduated. I hadn't paid attention to the medicine, to what it was telling me. And what it was telling me was to stop worrying about my body image and the way I looked and how swole I was and, shredded. Because at one point I realized, man, I smoked this stuff all the time, and I started getting really shredded. My nails would grow really fast. My hair, my facial hair would grow really fast. And I ended up looking it up. I was like, man, I wonder if this stuff makes my growth hormone, like increases my growth hormone production. And then it actually did. I ended up finding some random study that said that the test subjects' growth hormone increased. So then I was like, damn, this stuff is making me shredded. And then so at the tail end of it,
DMT, the ultimate performance enhancing drug.
I was fucking trying to smoke all the time so I can, get really shredded. And then that was totally the opposite of what the medicine was trying to tell me. It was telling me that I need to, just be more connected with the people around me and with myself, and be, just happy with who I am and what I have. And so then that's why it fucking punished me. It was rewarding me with, these cool shit, getting shredded, seeing cool shit. But then it was also ended up fucking turning around on me and making me realize like I'm like a fucking junkie or some shit, smoking this shit all the time. And that's when I realized, fuck, I'm like going down a fucking shitty rabbit hole, and I need to fucking stop doing it and really just focus on being me and doing stuff, not to, to look better, to be cooler, but just to fucking be happy. And that's when I stopped doing DMT. Although it wasn't bad, I'm not saying it's bad. I was abusing it. I was using it the way.
It's an important caveat to make. A lot of people, and I'm certainly have looked back on podcasts that I've done where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't paint it in that pretty of a light, right? Because it is challenging, and certainly, with ayahuasca, if you ever heard Gabor Mate talk about it, it's like there's zero chance of addiction. It tastes horrible. You have La Purga where you're purging, you're shitting your brains out. Like, it's not a fun experience. And then there's euphoria, and then there's knowledge, right? But you've got to work through that. With other things like LSD and DMT in particular, I mean, they can be scary at times, but for the most part, it is fucking beautiful. And it is something that, you can do more often.
Yeah.
And that there's the ability to be drawn into that. That's something that we all have to be mindful of, you know, because it's important to take that knowledge and then bring it back to earth and put it into existence, apply it.
Yeah. And I was stuck in this, you know, this fucking psychedelic world. You know, I was seeing a bunch of really dope visions and, you know, encountering these entities. And because as I started smoking more, I did start encountering these weird entities, which I believe are, you know, my subconscious being, you know, just really powerful visions. And because they felt really familiar. I had, you know, felt these when I was a kid, you know, like scary, like, you know, that heavy chest feeling you get. It felt like that a lot of the times. And so, you know, I was living in this world and I wasn't really applying the knowledge I was getting to my real life. And then when I finally took that step to listen to it, put it down and really just focus on, for me, my kettlebell training and my work, my personal training and group training and working on it, that I finally felt happy. You know, I wasn't just taking all this stuff from this, you know, this subconscious realm for myself. I was actually giving back to the world and helping people get better at working out and their kettlebell techniques and helping people better themselves, which has been the most rewarding thing ever, man. Like I can't imagine, you know, having to, you know, like I used to work in medical billing for a while I wasn't going to college. That was horrible because I was, you know, at a desk all day billing people for their fucking ailments and shit. And I'm like, man, these guys are sick and fucked up. And all I'm doing is trying to fucking charge them for what they're doing. And I'm not helping them. I'm not making them any better. So when I finally got the chance to help people with their fitness and their health, it was a good transition for me to really make a difference instead of just fucking sit at a desk all day. Now I get to, you know, actually make a difference. And so that's why it's been super rewarding to be able to launch my stuff online, because I've had people for years, you know, from all over the world who want to come to Onnit and train with me or take a kettlebell cert, but it's just too expensive, you know. A lot of people can't afford to
flights, hotels, food, the cert.
Yeah, and so that's why it's been a great you know, I've been grateful to be able to give back to those people who have been following me for so long and have been super supportive. So now it's I'm fortunate enough to be able to launch my site and give people access to that information.
Yeah, brother. What a fucking polarizing view too, to be on that side of health.
Yeah, man.
And then to shift to what you're doing now.
Which I'm not saying is wrong. You know, people, you know, doctors have to make money and they have to, you know,
well, we got a lot that's fucked up with our healthcare.
You know, the way stuff works.
Truthfully,
and seeing that firsthand was like, fuck, this is what we got to do to get these people to pay. And like, we got to make them like keep coming back to these appointments and like, you got to give them these drugs. And I'm just like, fuck. And I felt like shit, man. And that's actually after I left that job to start working on it. And I was like, man, you know, even if I work in the warehouse, at least I'm with a company that's more in line with my beliefs. And so I took that leap and now I'm here, you know, just got to keep trucking, keep grinding and just keep giving back. Cause I think I've been successful just cause I'm always just trying to give more than I'm receiving. Just cause, you know, it's like the law of reciprocity that Aubrey likes to talk about, you know, just give. And eventually, you know, you're gonna get it back. And
if you can give 51%,
yep,
take 49.
Yep.
Right. So you always give a little bit more than you receive.
For me, that's enough. That's more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when before I wasn't getting anything out of what I was doing. Now, you know, I can give whatever as long as I get some good energy back, because that's going to keep me going, keep me working hard.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, fuck, dude. It's been excellent having you on. We'll have to run it back.
Hell yeah, man. I'm down anytime.
Where can people follow you online?
You can follow me at Eric Leija on Facebook or Primal Swoledier on Instagram, and check out my website, ericleija.com. I got tons of workouts and a kettlebell course that'll help you get your kettlebell game right.
Fuck yeah, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. You can find out more about the Onnit 6 going to onnit.com, as well as checking out the Onnit certifications at Certs. We have a wealth of certifications you can do here, from the steel mace to kettlebells, to battle ropes, to all sorts of fun stuff. Durability is an absolute favorite of mine. So many cool things to check out. Of course, check out ericleija.com and follow links to follow him online with the Primal Swoledier on Instagram. He's blowing up the gram, over 100,000 followers. Definitely worth clicking follow. Thanks for tuning in.